Hello, everybody. How are you? So good to see you today. Hey, reach out in the chat if you're here. And welcome to What's Your Story live with me, your host, Carrie Rowan. And I'm so excited to be here with you today. And today I want to talk about something pretty cool. We're going to talk about a quote that I really like that's actually in my book. But before we do that, let me tell you a little bit about my book. This is my book, Tell a New Story. And I'm super excited to be offering these little tidbits for you of tiny little things that you can do every single day to make yourself feel better, to make your life move smoother so that you can feel better about your life and take a look at what's going on. And I trigger some things for you, some questions, some thoughts, some things and practices that you can do for yourself to feel better. So my book is Tell a New Story, and it talks about the 5 simple steps. It's really organized by each individual step, and then the chapters fall under each step. And each of these 5 steps are designed to help you release your negative stories so that you can live with more joy and more happiness in your life. And we can understand the reasons as to why we do the things we do and why we think the thoughts we do. So I take you through these 5 steps, and the 5 steps are kind of cool and easy to remember because they all stand for one of the letters in the word story, Story. And the thing that makes my book so unique and so just really technologically advanced, if you will, is that it's interactive, and I love that. So let me show you, for example. In my book are QR codes, and now we all know what QR codes are, but a couple years ago, nobody really knew what they were. So you have a QR code. For example, right here, it says watch a video where I'm going to show you how to do EFT tapping, right? And then here's a song of mine that's in the story because I'm also a singer-songwriter, if you didn't know. And in this book is a teaching memoir where I share stories about my life and my hardest stories I share with you so that you can get an insight into my stories. And then I take you through how I change those stories so that you can change your stories too, because my stories are really just a reflection of your stories and vice versa. We learn through our storytelling, don't we? So as you swipe this QR code, for example, with your electronic device, the song will come up and play at the most pertinent time in the story. And then for each of the 5 steps, I also have meditation as well. So you can get one of those 5 meditations as you're reading the book at right the moment that you need it when you're doing exercises at the end of each chapter. This book will help you transform. And this is for less than $15. You can get a tool today right on Amazon that will help you change your life. Even if you get one great morsel out of this book that could change the way you think or give you a tool to use when you're stressed or anxious. And let's face it, we're all really stressed and anxious still these days. We're still in the middle of this thing. So get your copy. And then once you do and you read it, I want to hear from you. Reviews are so cool on Amazon because everybody's looking to you guys, the people who own the book and who have read the book, to tell them what you like about it. So anyways, that's my little book spiel. And I want to tell you something, and I talk about this in one of my chapters. I talk about this later on in the book, in the last step of the book. And what I talk about is really, it's the chapter about choosing a new lens, right? And it's so important to really take a look at the lens that we see our life through because we all see it differently. And I love this quote, and I quote it in the book. It's Anais Nin, and the quote goes like this: "We don't see life as it is, we see it as we are." Right? Doesn't that make sense? We don't see life as it is. We're not really seeing it as it is, but we see it as we are. Why is that? Why don't we just see what's happening? Because we're always looking through our own lens, right? It's like, let me give you the example. And there's been studies on this, by the way, too. This is why people don't usually make great eyewitnesses, because you can get 5 different people up on the stand talking about seeing the exact same thing. But if you ever notice, they all see something very different. Why is that? Why is that? Or I give the example of like siblings. You ever have siblings in your family and you've all experienced the same parents and the same situation that happened in your family, but everybody remembers it completely and totally different. Have you ever wondered what that phenomenon is? Because we're seeing it through our own lens, through our own beliefs, our preconceived notions. We're seeing it through our mood of the day. We're seeing it through our state of mind. We're seeing it through our habits, our expectation, our patterns, and our stories, right? We told a story about that. And we told it over and over, and that really becomes our pattern. That becomes our way of operating in our lives. It's gets deep down into our subconscious mind. So that's why we can't trust that. That's why we can't also even trust our own memories when it comes to stories because I hate to say it, but 90% of those are inaccurate, what we remember. And we just tell our stories this way because that's become the habit. So we have to be really careful and we have to become aware of what some of these things are that are influencing the way we're seeing our life. Because I'm telling you right now, if you could just dig in there a little bit and find out what your blocks are, how you're seeing things that might be distorting a situation or a relationship in your life, then isn't it worth it taking the time to become aware of that? Start to pay attention. It's as simple as that. And I talk a lot about that in the book. Awareness is the first step, self aware, becoming self aware, starting to notice, starting to catch yourself when you tell that story or you say something about a situation that somebody sees different. And instead of us being in our reactive mode all the time, our knee jerk reaction, which is really just our patterns programmed into our brain, instead of letting this thing run the show, let's get down here into our bodies. Let's start becoming self aware and let's start catching ourselves when we go into those patterns. That is how we learn. Let's start journaling about this stuff, right? Let's start meditating so that we can become more self aware. Because when we offer that gift to other people and all the people we love in our lives, it's truly a huge gift for them. And it's truly a huge gift for ourselves to become self aware because we only feel powerful when we can incorporate that strength to ourselves, when we can feel strong through something that we did, through something that we evoked, through something that we believe, something new, something that we changed. That's how we become stronger. That's how we build our own self esteem. That's how we can trust more in ourselves. So take a look at that. Take a look at your habits, your patterns. If we're seeing this situation through our own lens, let's get curious about that. Let's wonder, wow, I wonder what my beliefs are. The reason why I feel so strongly about this situation, or the reason that I'm having this conflict with this person. What are my beliefs that I have about this? What are my expectations that I have about this other person? What's my state of mind when I was thinking about that, or when I got into the little scuffle with them about that? What was my state of mind? What was I thinking and believing at the time? When we can start to ask ourselves these questions and get really honest with ourselves, you know what the coolest thing is that happens? The coolest thing is that you realize you are more in control than you ever thought you were. Because now you have the possibility to choose a new response. I don't know about you, but I love that. You have the opportunity to choose a new response. You and only you. And isn't that how we change things anyways? We choose a new response. It comes from us. We can't wait and hope for somebody else to change and, sit around praying that somebody else is going to change when really the only thing we can control is ourselves, right? And if it's my habit and my pattern and my state of mind and my expectations and my preconceived notions, then I like the thought that I can become aware of what they are, get curious about it, and actually change the outcome of something based on my perception. I don't know about you, but that's super cool to me. I want to hear from you. If you're listening to this or you picked up a little gem that you're going to try, I want you to practice this week. I want you to start to look for how you're looking at situations and perhaps maybe get curious about how you could see it differently or how somebody else might see it. Ask somebody how they might see a situation differently than you do and start to open up that lens. Start to pick a new lens for yourself. Start to decide to see things a little bit differently. And if you're really curious, get the book, look up that chapter, and start reading about getting a new lens and choosing a new lens and reframing stories that you tell over and over again that no longer serve you. And that's what my work is all about. I love helping people uncover what those stories are. And I help people through meditation, that's in the book. That's how we become self aware, journaling, spending time in nature, getting really quiet, going out for a walk. You ever notice that that's when your mind is just sort of resting and you can get into this really flow state easily when you're taking your attention off of what's bothering you the most, right? Because we sometimes think that overthinking is going to help solve the problem, but really, as Tony Robbins says, when you're in your head, you're dead, right? We get too focused in our heads. We need to get out. We need to get more in our bodies so that we can really touch base with our hearts and start to become aware of what those patterns are so that then we can decide. Then we have the choice and the freedom that comes with deciding, taking a look at something and then deciding whether you want to change it or not. We've got way more power than we think we do. And I don't know about you, but I really love that thought. So let's end it with a little bit of or not meditation. Actually, today I'm going to do a little energy medicine work. If you want the meditations, get a copy of my book on Amazon. You got all 5 new meditations. They're all my original meditations, and it is me on the audio reading through the meditations. So let's take a minute. I want to show you this really cool move that I picked up from Donna Eden, and she's amazing. She's all about energy medicine. And this is something that you can do. It's called the Wayne Cook posture. Okay, it's super easy. I'm going to show you right now how to do it. And do it anytime you want some calm, anytime you're feeling anxious or stressed, or you got to get on a big Zoom call or have a hard talk with somebody or get on a meeting with your boss and ask for a raise or whatever it is. You want to have a talk with your child about something difficult. So get into the Wayne posture, the Wayne Cook posture, and you get into it like this. Take your hands and put them in front of you. We used to do this move when we were kids, and then I want you to put your palms out and clasp your hands together and roll it up, right? Didn't we do that as kids? Roll it up, okay? And that's part of the move. And then I want you to cross your ankles while you're standing there. This is something cool. I used to do this sometimes quickly before I go on stage, before a big show. So you're crossing your arms like so, and then you're crossing your ankles as you stand here. I want you to imagine taking in a deep, deep breath all the way as if it's coming in through the bottom of your feet. And then let it out. And what is this doing for you? Well, this is actually calming our nervous system. It's bringing us back down out of our heads into our bodies, right? Which is a really cool thing to do. It's also balancing the left and the right hemispheres of our brains because look, anytime you're crossing midline, that's what you're doing, okay? So we're balancing our brains, we're getting back into our body, we're calming those racing thoughts and that anxiety and all the worry that we have and that pre-anticipatory anxiety that we can get before a big event, right? So this is a nice quick move. And don't forget to cross your ankles as well as crossing your arms and take another couple deep breaths in with me here. And one more time in. Do that anytime you need to release a little bit of anxiety. I love that one. You could be standing in line somewhere and do that one. Can't do it driving though. So give that one a try. Let me know below in the comments how that worked out for you. If you'd like to chat, jump on my website, visit me at carrierowan.com. And I've got a lot of resources on there. I tell you about some of my classes that are coming up and a lot of really cool stuff. I talk about my book and my coaching program. So if you want to work with me one-on-one, I'd love the opportunity to help you get rid of those stories that are holding you down in your life. So thanks again for tuning into What's Your Story Live. And thank you so much. And goodbye for now. Have a great week.